What would you do if your parents looked you in the eye while you're lying in an ER bed and said, "We can't pay for this"? Not, "We'll figure it out." Not, "We'll sell the house." Not even, "We're trying." But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. We can't. 3 weeks earlier, they had spent $40,000 on my sister Lily's wedding. White roses imported from Ecuador. A string quartet flown in from New York. Fireworks timed to the final dance. I remember because I helped fold the napkins to save costs. Now I was in Chicago General Hospital at 24 years old, and a cardiologist with steady hands and tired eyes had just told me I had an acute aortic dissection. A tear in the main artery, leaving my heart. Untreated, it can kill you within hours. Survival rates drop fast. Surgery isn't optional. The estimate with insurance gaps? Around $180,000. My name is Ava Reynolds. I'm a graduate student. I work part-time at a coffee shop. I have $3,200 in savings and a car that barely starts in winter. The nurse said softly, "The OR is ready." Machines beeped around me. Bright lights. The smell of antiseptic. My mother, Monica, stood stiffly near the wall, arms crossed like this was a budgeting meeting. My father, David, wouldn't look at me. "We can't pay for this, Ava," he repeated. Can't? Or won't? Have you ever realized in one single moment exactly where you rank in your own family? Because I did. I signed the financial responsibility forms myself. My hands were shaking, but I signed. Every page. If I survived, I would owe more than I could earn in a decade. If I didn't, well, debt wouldn't matter. Then the chief surgeon walked in. Dr. Marcus Whitmore. 49. Calm. Controlled. The kind of man who looks like nothing surprises him anymore. He picked up my file. He read my full name out loud. Ava Evelyn Reynolds. And then he froze. Not confused. Not rushed. Frozen. He looked up at my parents. His voice changed. "Call legal. Now." Legal? Why legal? Was the surgery being stopped? Was something wrong with my insurance? With my consent? The nurse hurried out of the room. And that's when I realized this wasn't about money anymore. But what Dr. Whitmore saw on that file would unravel everything I thought I knew about my family. And no one in that room was prepared for what came next. It wasn't my condition that shocked him. It was my name. Dr. Whitmore kept staring at the file like it had just insulted him. The room felt smaller. Quieter. Even the monitor's beeping sounded distant, like it was happening to someone else. My dad finally broke the silence. "Is there a problem?" Dr. Whitmore didn't answer him. Instead, he looked at me. "Miss Reynolds, has anyone ever discussed the Carter Trust with you?" "Carter?" I shook my head. "No. Should they have?" My mom shifted her weight. A small movement. But I noticed. When you're lying in a hospital bed wondering if your artery is about to rupture, you notice everything. Within minutes, 2 people in suits walked into the ER. At 11:40 p.m. On a Tuesday. That's when I understood something wasn't routine. One of them, a woman with silver hair pulled into a tight bun, spoke carefully. "For confirmation, are David and Monica Reynolds your legal guardians?" "I'm 24, I said. "I don't have guardians." The woman didn't smile. "That's what we needed to verify." "Needed to verify?" My father's voice sharpened. "What exactly is going on?" Dr. Whitmore placed the file on the counter. 26 years ago, he began. This hospital received a $3.2 million endowment from a private donor. The funds were designated specifically for life-saving cardiothoracic surgeries for direct biological descendants of the Carter bloodline. My pulse monitor spiked. The silver-haired lawyer continued, "The trust is still active. Fully funded. And your full legal name is Ava Evelyn Reynolds." My stomach dropped. Evelyn. My middle name. Dr. Whitmore looked at my parents again. And this time, his tone wasn't clinical. It was pointed. "Are you aware," he asked slowly, "that the trust beneficiary records list Ava as the biological granddaughter of Margaret Carter?" Silence. Not confusion. Silence. I looked at my mom. Her lips were pressed thin. My dad's jaw tightened the way it used to when I got in trouble as a kid. Answer the question, the lawyer said. My mother exhaled. Yes, she whispered. The room tilted. Wait, I said. Biological. Dr. Whitmore's eyes returned to me. Not cold. Not warm. Just steady. The Carter Trust covers your surgery in full. Immediately. No insurance. No billing. No financial responsibility on your part. My heart was racing, and not just because of the tear in my artery. If this trust was biological, and my parents knew about it, then what exactly weren't they telling me? And why did they look more afraid of the paperwork than my surgery? Because what came next wasn't just about money. It was about who I really was. The surgery wasn't the biggest emergency anymore. The truth was, biological granddaughter? I repeated, my voice thin. What does that mean? The lawyer didn't hesitate. It means Margaret Carter was your biological grandmother. The word biological hit harder than the diagnosis. I turned to my parents. Explain. My mother's eyes filled instantly. My father stepped forward like he could control this with posture alone. We were going to tell you, he said. When? After the funeral? Dr. Whitmore checked his watch. We need to move. Your team is on standby. No, I said. Not until someone tells me what's going on. Have you ever felt your entire identity shift in real time? Like the floor didn't crack. It just quietly disappeared? The lawyer opened a slim folder. You were adopted at age 2, she said calmly. Your biological mother, Evelyn Carter, died from an undiagnosed aortic rupture at 28. After her death, her mother, Margaret Carter, established a $3.2 million irrevocable medical trust. The sole purpose was to ensure no direct descendant would ever die from the same condition due to lack of funds. I couldn't breathe. Evelyn. That's why my middle name was Evelyn. She tracked you, the lawyer continued. Privately. Through sealed adoption records and annual medical updates. The trust automatically activates upon hospital verification of lineage. I looked at my mother. You knew? She nodded. Barely. We thought it would confuse you, she whispered. You were so young. And then time passed. Time passed? For 22 years? And Lily? I asked suddenly. Silence again. That was my answer. She's not biologically related, the lawyer clarified. Of course she isn't. Here's the part that made my chest tighten more than the artery tear. My parents had access to a secondary investment account Margaret created to grow the trust's assets. Not for medical use, but family discretion. Records showed a $40,000 withdrawal 3 weeks ago. Lily's wedding. It wasn't illegal, but it was revealing. They knew there was a heart condition in my biological line. They knew my birth mother died from it. And they never once pushed me to get screened. Dr. Whitmore's tone cut through the room. The trust explicitly states emergency procedures proceed without parental authorization. Ava is the sole beneficiary. Sole beneficiary. Not their decision anymore. A nurse appeared at my bedside. We have to go. As they wheeled me toward the OR, I locked eyes with my mother. When were you going to tell me? I asked. Her voice cracked. Someday. Someday. Someday almost killed me. But what happened inside that operating room would reveal something even they didn't see coming. There's a strange clarity that comes when you're being wheeled toward open-heart surgery. The ceiling lights pass above you in perfect white squares. One after another. Like a countdown. I remember thinking, so this is how it happens. Not with drama. Not with music. Just paperwork, secrets, and fluorescent lighting. Dr. Marcus Whitmore walked beside my gurney, already masked, already focused. You're going to be okay, Ava, he said. Calm. Certain. Statistics flooded my brain because that's what fear does. It looks for numbers to hold on to. Acute aortic dissection. Without surgery, mortality increases by 1% per hour. With emergency repair? Around a 90% survival rate in major cardiac centers like Chicago General. Good odds. Unless you're the 10%. Inside the OR, everything moved fast. Bright lights. Stainless steel trays. Controlled urgency. As anesthesia began to pull me under, I heard Dr. Whitmore say something that stuck. I trained here on the Carter Endowment, he told a resident. It funded half our cardiovascular research wing. Carter. My biological grandmother's name was etched into this hospital long before I ever knew it was etched into me. And then everything went black. 6 hours. That's how long the surgery lasted. They performed an open repair. Replaced the damaged section of my ascending aorta with a synthetic graft. Precision work. Millimeters deciding life or death. Halfway through, my blood pressure dropped dangerously low. In the waiting room, my parents sat rigid in separate chairs. Not touching. Not speaking. Lily arrived still wearing the thin diamond bracelet from her wedding. A nurse came out once. There was a complication. They're stabilizing her. My father reportedly stood up so fast he knocked over a chair. For the first time that night, money couldn't fix anything. Back in the OR, Dr. Whitmore ordered additional transfusions. Adjusted sutures. Controlled the bleed. His voice never rose. "Stay with me," he muttered to me, or maybe to the team. Eventually, my vitals stabilized. 7 hours after it began, the doors finally opened. Dr. Whitmore stepped into the waiting room, mask removed, surgical cap still on. His expression unreadable. My mother stood first. "Is she?" "She made it," he said. 3 words that collapsed the tension in the room. But he didn't leave. "There's something else," he added carefully. "Something Ava needs to understand about the trust." My father frowned. "What now?" Dr. Whitmore looked directly at them. "The Carter Trust doesn't just cover surgery." And whatever he was about to say next would shift the power in this family permanently. When I woke up, it felt like I had been gone for years. My chest burned. My throat was raw from the ventilator. Every breath felt stitched together, which, technically, it was. There was a long incision down my sternum and a new synthetic graft quietly doing the job my body almost failed to do. And sitting beside my hospital bed was Dr. Marcus Whitmore. Not my parents. Not Lily. Him. "You're very lucky," he said evenly. "Lucky." I almost laughed. Then he said the 3 words that changed everything. "You were chosen." I frowned slightly. Talking hurt. He continued, "Margaret Carter amended the trust 1 year before she passed. She added a clause. Not just emergency surgery coverage. Full educational funding. Annual advanced cardiac screenings starting at age 25. And independent legal and financial counsel upon transfer of control." Transfer of control? "The remaining balance of the trust is approximately $2.4 million, he said calmly. "And in 6 months, when you turn 25, it becomes entirely yours. Mine. Not managed by my parents. Not shared. Mine." She anticipated resistance, he added carefully. "The clause specifically prevents guardians or adoptive parents from restricting disclosure once a medical event confirms eligibility." She knew. My biological grandmother, a woman I never met, knew enough about the world to predict this exact moment. Suddenly, Dr. Whitmore freezing at my file made sense. It wasn't confusion. It was recognition. The Carter name funded half the cardiac wing. He had built his career under research grants tied to her donation. And now her granddaughter was on his table. Full circle. Later that afternoon, my parents walked into my room. They looked smaller somehow. My mother tried first. "Ava, we were trying to protect you." "From what?" I asked quietly. "The truth." No one answered. Here's the irony. They didn't have to pay for my surgery. They never did. The safety net was always there. They just weren't it. A week later, I requested independent counsel, genetic counseling, and a separate trustee until my birthday. Distance doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. As I took my first slow walk down the hospital corridor, sunlight pouring through tall windows, I realized something. The people who refuse to save you sometimes reveal who already did. So let me ask you, if you found out your entire life had been managed by secrets, would you forgive them? Or would you walk away with the truth and never look back? Comment below. And if you want more real stories about betrayal, hidden legacies, and the moments that flip power upside down, subscribe. Because sometimes the biggest inheritance isn't money. It's finally knowing who you are.